Woo! That was something. We're live here at Lambeau Field after the Commanders lost 28-17 to the Green Bay Packers. The score indicates a game that was probably a little closer than it actually was.
Wasn't as close as it
Yeah, it
actually
wasn't.
was.
I mean, this was a throttling. Green Bay was the better team start to finish. They dominated on both lines of scrimmage, and when you have that, it's the same thing Washington did to the Giants last week. And the Commanders were able to move the ball a little bit better, but this was just – we don't know how good Green Bay is. Maybe they are really, really good. Their defensive front looked really, really good. Yeah. Micah Parsons looked like he has unlocked Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness and Quay Walker. Like, they might just be really, really good. But tonight, they were the much better team. I mean, that was a sad locker room, sad podium. It was a bunch of guys that realized they kind of got their butts kicked. And then you add the insult to injury, literally, with significant injuries. It looks like significant injuries to Austin Eckler as well as Dietrich Wise. Then you've got Noah Brown, John Bates further down the list. But, I mean, two vets that look – we don't want to speculate too much, but it looks like they could be done for their years.
Ian Rappaport said it's feared that's an Achilles.
I mean, everybody
clearly,
here. Yeah.
We were in the locker room, and Austin was visibly upset, towel over his head. You could see –
had the boot on, walked out on crutches.
Right. I mean, you could see that it was big. And we talked to Bill Jacory Krosky-Merritt, and he was, he talked about how important Austin Eckler was for his development and how difficult it is.
Dude, think about the running back room Bill was drafted into with the vets that were kind of running it, and B-Rob and Eckler. And by week 3, I'm not entirely convinced either of them will be around.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
one of them definitely not. But.
It's tough. We talked about when they got rid of B-Rob, that you had a void of veteran experience in that locker room because Eckler has become a guy who has been dealing with injuries as of late as he's gotten older in his career. And not that B-Rob is a replacement for Eckler in any way, shape, or form, but you now have 3 running backs in that room who don't have a whole lot of NFL experience, especially being bell cow running backs.
Which is kind of the thing we said when they traded away Robinson.
Right.
It was like, all right, this guy has some level of dependability that you're giving up on that. In this game, though, I mean, in the Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn era, I think people are going to jump and say this is the worst loss. I still think the home loss to the Cowboys last year with, I think, Cooper Rush playing is worse. But, damn, this was ugly. And it's now 2 games in a row. The offense hasn't really clicked. At least last week they ran the ball really well, and the final numbers look pretty good. In this thing, I mean, maybe the final numbers look okay, but for most of this game, the Packers' tight ends were outgaining Washington's entire offense.
Tucker Kraft was unstoppable.
I mean, the run game was terrible. Eckler finished 8 carries for 17 yards. Bill 4 for 17. I do not understand why they didn't go to Bill more, and Eckler kept getting all the work.
Right. Early on, Eckler wasn't having a ton of success, and yet they still were handing them the ball. I mean, this is a team that got beat on offense, defense, and special teams. It was across the board.
They totally did, but at various times the defense kind of kept them in this thing.
Which is crazy to say. The defense wasn't good.
No, but they were better closer in. You know what I mean? Like Green Bay missed a field goal. Like Green Bay kind of stalled out at various times. I thought Green Bay's defense dominated Washington in a way that Green Bay's offense was just better than Washington's defense. If that makes sense. Like the gap between Green Bay's defense to Washington's offense was bigger to me than the gap from Washington's offense to Green Bay's defense, even if both were in the Green Bay half of the ledger by a wide margin.
Both the Commanders' offensive line and both the Commanders' defensive line and offensive line struggled tonight. Later in the game, you started seeing the D-line start to get to the quarterback a little bit, but let's be honest, at that point, it was a little too late.
Late in the game, you started to see a little bit of protection for Jaden too, but all of it was too little, too late. I mean, the fact that I think at 10 minutes into the game, Green Bay had 140 yards to Washington's 6.
Well, Tucker Kraft had
I have
109 yards.
The notes
to
I have are
Washington's
crazy.
92. I mean, it was bad, but when you look at
they had a 1st and 25 at one point, and they converted it in 2 plays.
Which is what we saw the Commanders do last week against the Giants, and you really wanted it to be a little bit better. But I mean, across the board, it's tough on a short week, but it's a short week for the Packers too.
Right.
You see 2 weeks in a row now, the Packers beat the brakes off the Lions. They beat the brakes off the Commanders here tonight. Those are probably 2 of the 4 best teams in the NFC, or at least presumed best teams in the NFC. And the Packers just looked really, really good.
For sure. And that doesn't necessarily negate any of Washington's shortcomings. And, tonight the offense just looked stagnant. They looked like they couldn't generate anything, and maybe some of that was they weren't able to run the ball.
Yeah.
But now to a man in there. Terry, Debo,
Oh.
the backs, they all said how well coached and well schemed the Packers defense was. They have a young defensive coordinator, and because I think a lot of it's because of Parsons, but like they're able to rush 4 or 5 and generate good rush, and then that kind of pins everybody back. But it's not cool like when you're like, oh, they executed better, their scheme was really good. Like ideally your scheme could be really good too. They did not have answers for what Green Bay did defensively.
Both Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt had pretty rough nights tonight.
Totally.
Both in game plan and in adjustments in game. The only sliver, glass half full that I'll say, last year, week 1 in Tampa Bay, kind of got their brakes beat off too. Granted, that was Jaden's very first game, but it was an early season loss that didn't look good. And you hope that this is the same kind of, wake-up call, whatever it needs to be for these guys to get going a little bit. But it wasn't good enough, and Vegas comes to town, and they run the ball really well.
Max Crosby. I mean, Josh Connerly had a rough night tonight. Crosby's going to be there. Let's get to Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels talking about how frustrated they were from tonight.
I think in September football, Dave, there is some. With disappointment, I want to make sure the identity and the style that we want to play is right. I can live with the mistakes. How fast can we get back to correcting them? And you're in game 2 and 3 and 4, that early piece, like sometimes those go not like you want. I just want to make sure our attitude, our style of finishing is right. And that's what I want to make sure we can get done. It just wasn't to the spot that I would like that to be at. Even on a game where it doesn't go your way, I want to see the finishes. I want to see those plays and all 3 phases. And we just didn't have enough of those tonight.
You keep mentioning the attitude. Did you feel like they gave up at a certain point?
Never. I'm talking about just our attitude and play style and way we want to finish plays and the tackling, creating turnovers, finishing drives. So, yeah, by no means like these guys are as tough as you get. I saw guys just absolutely battling through it and not wanting to tap in any space, and guys coming back. And so it was costly for us, and we'll regroup, like I said, Monday. But the fight, I don't question. When I'm talking about the finish, I just want to see the more downfield plays on all phases.
It's going to be a big loss, but, we got guys that got to step up and are more than capable of stepping up. But, it's always tough, losing veteran players.
What were you seeing out there in terms of finding receivers?
They did a great job of their scheme, and it's a really good football team. So at the end of the day, it's only week 2. We'll learn from that. We got to get better. It's a long season.
Have you faced a pass rush like that last year in terms of the aggressiveness there?
I mean, they're good. They're good players. I wouldn't go back and try to compare them to anybody. It's a good defense, a good team, well coached.
You guys get that Debo kickoff up to midfield. How tough was it to not be able to convert any points in the rest of that?
The name of the game is scoring points, and they score more than us, so super tough.
Clearly a frustrated bunch there. I mean, the thing that stuck with me is how Jaden over and over said how frustrated he was, how they executed, how better the scheme was. But at the same time, guys, I can hear you in my ear. Somebody's mic is open back there. But the thing that really stood out was Jaden saying nobody's going to hit the panic button. And maybe it helps a little that you have this little bit of a break and then they'll get back out there. Yeah. It's week 2, man. And as much as I think you and I are frustrated because that was just a subpar game. They just really were incapable of moving the ball like we've seen this team perform. But it is week 2, and it is a long season, and they are still working in a lot of new parts. And maybe Green Bay is just really good, and they got smoked by a really good team. I thought Jaden, he also said, it starts with me. I think no matter what, the ownership, the accountability is what we expect from him. They're way more pissed off than we are, than the fans are in the chat. You know what I mean?
And we appreciate everyone who's there. I do think that this was, outside of the games that Jaden played with the broken rib, was probably his worst game. And I don't know that it was necessarily even on Jaden, but he wasn't particularly accurate. He didn't have guys that were open to throw.
Nobody got open. There was no separation.
And that was a real problem. Even when Cliff Kingsbury tried to dial up some of those chip blocks for the O-line, for Josh Connerly and company, you had a bunch of those guys miss, and Parsons is
Connerly had a rough night. Let's be real.
Connerly absolutely had a rough night.
And then you lose Bates,
right,
which really doesn't help.
Parsons is an elite player.
Right.
But you had Jeremy McNichols swing and miss on a couple of
Sure.
those chip blocks, middle of the game, late in the game when they had a chance to kind of make a comeback. We talked about Cliff and Joe Witt having tough days. I think you also have to talk about Dan Quinn. Something that he was so good at last year, and this team was so good at last year, were those end of half, end of game moments. Yeah. And you had it right out here at the 45-yard line, right behind us. All of a sudden, you had a minute left, and they get a holding penalty. They run the clock instead of they had 3 timeouts.
Electing to run the clock is the first kind of chicken-ass move we've seen.
Yeah.
Because that was solely done to not get Green Bay the ball back.
Right.
Like, the fact that you're running the clock while you're on offense with timeouts is – we would kill Ron for that.
It's playing scared.
It's totally – yeah, it's the avoid disaster playbook.
But it's also your favorite – attack success.
Yeah,
it's
the opposite. Totally. And yeah, they're still able to get a field goal attempt off, but it's a 58-yarder. And Green Bay still got the ball back, and Green Bay got a field goal attempt out.
Well, we've gotten this far, and we haven't talked about Matt Gay's, kicking.
So
which
he took total ownership in there.
He did.
He missed a 52 and a 58-yarder. And you can, if you want to be critical of something in that situation, it's the process where you brought a kicker in who's questionable from 50-plus
right.
and had no competition for him. Like, I'm not mad at Matt Gay for doing what Matt Gay does.
Right. I'm more mad at
if a dog pees on the ground, you got to teach it to stop peeing on the ground. But if you let it, it's just going to keep peeing on the ground.
You're going to roll up a newspaper and hit Matt Gay?
I'm not, but this is the situation you chose.
Right. I'm more upset about the clock management and Dan Quinn settling for that field goal, like you said, because they had an opportunity to try and get closer. You could have.
They could have tried. I don't think they were
doing.
They
would have, but
yeah.
I mean,
I don't disagree. The electing to run off the clock was some serious chicken-esque.
Yes,
and we haven't seen that.
We
haven't seen that from this group.
It was playing scared. Last week we talked about them not going for it on a couple fourth downs because they recognized that they were the better team than the Giants and they didn't have to force the issue. I think tonight they recognized that they weren't able to do much offensively, and they kind of turtled a little bit, and that's not the best situation.
I have 0 game balls.
I have 0 game balls.
I don't know if you have a hat tip. You got to sell me on it.
Punt return game.
Okay.
I really liked what I saw from Jalen Lane tonight.
Well, then the kick return game too.
And Deebo Samuel on the kick return. I think it's
they did nothing with the field position.
Right, they did nothing with the field position, but there were a couple times that Jalen Lane gave you a real opportunity to move the football or have positive field position. They didn't do anything with it, but they at least tried. It was.
I mean, the way you're describing this is a legitimate participation trophy. They tried.
Hey, we got to see Pete Haley. We got to see Pete Haley today. He was the king of participation trophies. It was rough. We're going to go to let's go to GOATs. And
Marshawn
Lattimore. That's an obvious one.
That was my first.
Josh Connerly, absolutely. This is 2 weeks in a row that's been a little rough for him. I think the NFL game, I think the speed that he's starting to see.
Last week he was able to recover from it. This week he didn't.
He spiraled a little bit. I will say, though, that
you wonder if they have to go to Wiley if Crosby starts to eat his lunch early in that game.
I think you can't. Today people were calling for Wiley mid-game. The offense wasn't doing anything anyway. I don't know that Wiley is a difference, and you don't want to crush a kid's confidence. But certainly next week, if this is now 3 weeks in a row.
I think if the first half looks similar to tonight, I do wonder what you do there.
Yeah.
But I don't know he's your first round pick. You don't want to bench him, but I spoke with somebody in the locker room who was like, you got to be patient.
Right.
Everybody knew these first 3 weeks were a straight gauntlet and kind of see where it goes. I got one that there's no argument on. The coverage on tight ends.
Well, I was about to go
linebackers, DBs, whatever the scheme was, like whatever was happening there. I mean, Kraft finished with 6 for 124, and then Musgrave had another 2 for 32.
Well, how long?
That's 156 yards.
How long was Kraft's that long one from him?
Kraft had a 57-yard.
Yeah, 57-yarder. He blew right by Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner was kind of late dropping into the zone. He turned and looked to the secondary. It was the kind of stuff we used to see when the secondary was all out of sorts and a play would happen and you'd see DBs turning to safeties and safeties turning to corners being like not understanding where they're supposed to be. And I don't think that this is I don't think that this will be an ongoing issue, but Marshawn Lattimore not playing great. Mikey Sanders still.
Trey Amos leaving at various points with the
Trey Amos getting trucked multiple times tonight. That that tackle on the Jordan Love run kind of behind us on the field was a really tough look, because if a quarterback is going to allow himself to get out there and put his shoulder down, you got to take your shots, but you got to get the guy down.
Right.
And it stunk to see Amos, get kind of bowled over there, but those are opportunities that you can't miss, especially when you're playing elite teams.
It's tough because a couple of the things I've written down are for guys that got injured, but Noah Brown was not good enough.
No.
Prior to the injury, he had 4 targets with 1 catch. He had what was a very catchable ball when they were still in the game early and just really could use a first down that the DB broke up, but hold on to the ball.
You got both hands on it, right? Like, he's supposed to be your big, powerful receiver. Like, be a big, powerful receiver. You can't let a little DB, knock the ball away.
Eckler's a class act, and we're certainly root for him. But tonight he was 8 for 17 and 2 catches for 7 yards.
Yeah,
I do not understand the thought process that was 80% Eckler, 20% Bill. One guy shows a lot more explosion.
I think also certainly Connerly was a problem tonight, and he gets his goat. I think once Bates went down, they left him one-on-one with Parsons a couple times, and if you're Micah Parsons and you look up and you see a rookie tackle that you're having a pretty successful day at, you're sticking your butt up in the air and you're getting after that damn quarterback, and he did.
We talked about Matt Gay. Let's let you hear. You see Josh Connerly there, just rough night for the rookie. But let's let you hear from Matt Gay, because you do have to applaud the ownership he takes from the misses, even though they're both 50-plus.
Yeah, tough game. I can't speak for anybody else, but just myself. Tough game for me. I fully take responsibility for that loss. I feel like if I make those kicks, not only the points, but the momentum that gives our team, I just think it's a different game. So I have to be better than that. I got to make those kicks.
Well, I think we just kind of, it's 3 phases, and, everyone has to kind of play well to win a game. In the NFL, they're all tough, especially a team like this. And, everyone has, sometimes the defense picks up the special teams, offense picks up the special teams, vice versa. And, you have to play, perfect against those guys to win. And, we just got to execute better and come back next week and get after it.
We lost. If we would have never had a weak run game last week and won, I would have been happy. But we lost, and that's the difference. Anytime we can win and running backs don't do nothing, that's good for the team. But we just lost, so that's the difference.
We try to be bend don't break. We knew that's a good offense, and we knew they were gonna get some plays. We try to do our best to stop the run, and just put them in tough situations. And unfortunately, we didn't do it long enough.
They beat us tonight. Quite frankly, they beat us in all 3 phases, and offensively we just didn't really get going till late. So we got to find a way to sustain drives and get points to help the defense, because they did a good job of getting a few stops that we could have just counteracted, their offense, but we just didn't get anything going early.
Not a very happy locker room there. I want to get to a couple of the comments from the chat. First off, thanks to everybody wishing me a happy birthday. Certainly not the result we were looking for.
Happy birthday to Dan Quinn too.
Yeah,
the two of you guys are having a little bit of a melancholy birthday here now, but it is what it is.
Christopher Robinson says, has the coaching staff said why they're less aggressive on 4th downs this year? I think it's a little premature to make that call.
Yeah.
Tonight, I know people got upset at various times, end of the half, to kick instead of go for it. I understand kicking there. I mean, you make that kick, it's 14-6. It's a 1-score game, and you're getting your ass kicked.
And you were getting the ball back in the second half. There were opportunities.
I thought last week was more egregious than tonight.
Yeah, there were opportunities there where had they were able to make plays, they would have gotten themselves right back into it. Even when the Zach Ertz touchdown, which was a great play by Ertz, by the way.
Right.
If the defense can get a stop, you're down a score, you can go back down, and do something. But
for all the worry about the old
happen.
guys, Debo and Ertz were their 2 best offensive players tonight.
Well, Eckler and Wise are 2-year-old guys who suffered pretty tough injuries.
Yeah, I mean,
it goes both ways. I mean, you cut it either way.
Good all the time asked, the lack of urgency was a major concern. Ending the half with all our timeouts was a major clock management problem. I hear you. They played scared at the end of the half. It felt like a Ron Rivera, Scott Turner production, frankly. Last one from the chat. This is a tricky one. Who replaces Eckler's role? Rodriguez, McNichols, Debo out of the backfield. Maybe it's some combination of all of it, but you hope. It's me. Just give Bill a lot more work. You play rookies. You got Amos playing. You got Connerly playing. Jaden started for you last year.
We should see 20
Sanders
carries.
Still.
We should see 20 carries out of him.
Maybe it's touches, but give him the work.
Yeah.
See if he can handle it.
He's your bell cow running back now. I mean,
should be.
He should have maybe had a little more work early in this game. Obviously, with the Eckler injury, you kind of don't want to go too hard down that.
That was late, dude.
No, I know. I'm saying, as we look forward, you don't want to go too far down them. Not.
He should have been getting more work.
He absolutely
regardless of the injury.
I want him getting the B-Rob work for the past couple of years.
Right.
I want him first, second, and some third downs definitely. And I think you're going to see. Obviously, you're going to see C-Rod be active here, and it's going to be a committee to try to fill that Eckler role because McNichols is, I guess, kind of your pass catching back, but. We haven't seen a ton from him. We haven't seen a ton from C-Rod. Obviously, Bill's a rookie. There's a lot to be done there.
Let's do the stuff and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, stuff is not pretty.
Yeah, it's gonna be terrible.
I mean,
did we win anything?
100 chips. We both lost. We both had Commanders money line. So you're at minus 10 chips for the season. I'm at minus 200. We go to the.
How'd that money line go?
We go to the over-under here. We both had Jaden over 225.5.
Nope.
Loss. We both had Bill over 42.5. Loss. We both had Parsons under 1.5 sacks. We got that right.
Okay.
So it came down to the tiebreaker, which was Terry receiving yards. I believe he ended with 40 and change, 47, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see. I'll get you that number. 5 catches for 48 yards.
5 catches, 48 yards. We were playing closest to the number. You picked 60. I picked 72. So JP wins. He's up 1-0 on the season now.
Wow. I feel bad that I get a full point out of that. I'll be honest with you.
You want a half point?
Sure.
All right. We'll call it a half point.
Benji
bet, not even close. Both had Commanders winning.
Not even close.
I mean, that's your stuff for you.
Maybe we drank the Kool-Aid week 1.
Shout out to Mark
Maybe
Farina
really
for doing that stuff for us. It's really helpful. So
we get the weekend off. We will maybe pod Monday or Tuesday.
We'll pod Monday or Tuesday. We'll be back. We'll be back here live after the
maybe
Raiders game, assuming that we haven't jumped off the top of FedEx Northwest Stadium by that point.
We can find a table for my computer.
We'll find a table for your computer. I imagine our good friend Greg Abernathy will make
no
it
chance
happen.
Greg's going to bring anything.
This is all Greg.
If the over-under is Greg bringing me a table for my computer, I'm taking the under. We got to go. Thank you for watching. We're in Green Bay. We're all trying to get home. You made it this far. Mitch owes you a beer.